Welcome to PLZ Soccer's one-to-one specials. I'm Peter Martin. I'm delighted to say our guest is Morton legend Jim McAlister. Jim, you've decided to hang up the boots. I cannot believe it. It seems only yesterday I was watching you with your blonde hair and your mullet rolling back the years in that Morton shirt. How does it feel that you finally decided to do it?
Aye, mixed emotions. I would say first and foremost, it's probably been the hardest decision I've ever had to make in my life. But when you know what it's like in football, especially at the level I'm obviously not playing at the top level, and when you get over 30, you're almost living kind of year to year. And it's got to a stage 35 now. I felt that I've got three kids, five and under, that it's important to try and look for something with a bit more security. So it's with a heavy heart. Ideally, I wouldn't be doing it halfway through the season, but just the way things have worked out with COVID and all that, I've had to call it a day just now.
Yeah. What brought you to that point? Because I remember speaking to Paul Hartley and he caught everybody on the hop, just like yourself, by saying he was going to retire. And he said to me, Peter, there was just that sense that a player that would never have got near you started to get near you. There was just that extra touch too much. And he said it's fine margins, but that brought me to the point of saying enough is enough.
Yeah, I don't necessarily personally feel that it's that. I feel as if I probably could play on. I don't feel as if games have been passing me by and stuff like that this season, especially. It's a tough league and I've really enjoyed playing in it, but I just feel like I've been offered an opportunity that is something that I could potentially do for the next 5, 10, 15 years down the line. And when you've got family and kids, your mindset completely changes. I've been fortunate enough to call football my work, for the last 18 years or whatever. I've played for some great clubs, but it's just the way things have worked out. And probably with this pandemic that's going on in the world just now, nobody's got any type of security, especially in kind of our level at what we're playing at in football. So that was probably a big factor in it as well.
Yeah, the driving force almost certainly, and rightly so, seems to be your family and thinking of the future. So tell me, what is next that hopefully will last 10 or 15 years?
No, it's listen, it's not something that I overly want to talk on about just now. I'm going to be helping out at Morton this week. I've got a huge game coming up, obviously Saturday at home to Wraith Rovers, which is big for the club. So I've obviously called it a day in terms of playing, but in the coaching side of it, that's going to be a large part of this week. And then once I get that out the road and kind of say my goodbyes at the club, then obviously I know what opportunity it is, but it's something that I want to solely focus on Morton this week first and foremost.
Okay, you'll forgive me for being the typical journalist. Is it in football or out with football?
Yeah, no, I'll still be involved in football, more so behind the scenes, but I'll still be involved in football, which is nice having been involved in football. Obviously, my full adult life, so that was a big coup for it as well.
Good. Good to know that you're not. It's good to know that you're not lost to the game. That's for certain. Now, let me ask you, Jim McAlister. Was it emotional? Was there a few tears shed when you realised this is it?
Yeah, it was tough. I had a chat with my teammates on Friday morning to let them know of some of the staff. I had to inform it at the club slightly earlier, but it was hard telling my teammates on Friday. I had a wee lump in the throat to tell them. Obviously, Saturday was going to be my last day and different things. And obviously, you get through the match day routine on Saturday. You get through things for the kind of final time and leaving the pitch on Saturday. Obviously, we were more disappointed with the result because as a club we needed the 3 points and wanted them badly. But when it's difficult. There'll be thousands of people been through it before. Walking off the pitch for the last time. So it was quite emotional. Yeah.
Yeah, and even more painful, I would imagine, Jim, that it's a day where you would love to have so many of your family around you.
Yeah, that was. Listen, that's just unfortunately the world that we live in just now, and they were all tuning in back home in Rossi and stuff like that. They tuned into the game. That's the next best thing as the way the world is. So I'll hopefully once things get back to normal, we start getting punters in. I've had a good chat with the Morton club together that are taking over the club in the summer, so they're hopeful that we'll maybe get back for a game and get a wee send off. When there's punters back in the ground, so that'll be nice.
Yeah, that would be lovely to see. Let me take you back then. When you started out, high hopes and ambitions when you were a young player. It all started at Morton. What are your memories?
Yeah, almost 18 years ago, but you were told when you started out, enjoy every minute because it passes you by so quickly. But it probably came about with a bit of luck when I started out, and I was playing with Morton under 18s as a trialist, and Stevie Frail, who's up at Dundee United just now, he was our coach, and he was ill for the game that we had scheduled between Christmas and New Year, I think it was. So the first team manager, John McCormack, Cowboy at the time, he took the game, which I done quite well in, and he pulled me after the game, and it was a case of if you come down to Caplow with me just now and sign before 5 o'clock, I'll put you on the bench for the first team tomorrow. And that's exactly what happened. I got on for the last 20 seconds of the first team game against Peterhead, and that's where it all started. I'm forever grateful for the Cowboy first and foremost and Stevie Frail for giving me the opportunity to go and make a living at it.
Yeah. What do you remember about your debut? Did you play well?
I never touched the ball. I was honestly, it was about he flung me on. I would say there was about a minute left. We were 1-1 so I was actually surprised that he put me on when the game was so tight. And at that time, I think there was ourselves, Peterhead, East Fife, and possibly Albion Rovers going for the league title that year. It was a right tight league, but it was massive for Morton to get out it. Douglas Ray had just taken over the club, and they were obviously wanting to build foundations. But I was surprised to get the nod. But obviously, listen, it was incredible to get on. Considering I'd only signed the day before, although I never touched the ball right enough.
What about the players? Do you remember some of your teammates from the early days?
Yeah, some of them helped me massively over the years. Derek Collins, who was a captain at the time, I was travelling over for Rossi on a daily basis, and he was in Inverkip, so the two of us kind of tied in travelling. So he was a massive help. Chris Miller signed around the same time, and obviously we're still together at the club as it stands just now. So he's been a big help along the way as well. But there was loads of top players around there at the time. Alex Williams was one that stood out because he was scoring all the goals and different things. It was a good environment and good dressing room to come into.
Yeah, you mentioned Midge there. I mean, I don't know what you're going to do, what you're going to involved in football, but you can't let yourself physically go because he's doing press ups when he gets up in the morning. He's got a 6 pack. I mean, Jim, you can't let yourself go because he will give you pelters.
Oh yeah, wee Midge, he'll put the pressure on you. Well, there's no doubt about that. Wee man loves getting his top off. He gets he gets he gets ripped for it every day in the dressing room, believe me. But he still insists on doing it. Nah, Midge has been a great pro, and he'll be fantastic. In the dressing room between now and the end of the season because it's a young squad down at Morton. So the likes of Midge and Big Brian McLean being about the place will be massive for the club.
Yeah, to get into a side so young, as you mentioned there, for your own point of view, what were you like as a young man? Who did you idolise? Who was the type of person that inspired you?
When I was young, I signed for Morton as a centre forward, which was I've gradually worked my way back, on the pitch. But probably around about the time everyone kind of my generation would have looked to the likes of Ali McCoist and folk like that, natural goal scorers. At the time, I was built like the side of a fiver. I was all legs and energy. I wasn't your typical robust centre forward, but when I came to the club, as I mentioned before, there was folk like Alex Williams, and then obviously Peter Weatherson came in as well, who were fantastic strikers. So they were good players to learn from.
And of course, you mentioned there, young players getting their chance at Morton. That was the key area in your next move. Hamilton Accies were famed for giving young players the opportunity to go and strut their stuff. Was there a good place to go to from Morton?
Yeah, at the time I thought, obviously, like you just said there, you were looking at folk they had improved, it brought through their academy and shifted on to the next level. So that was weighing massively in my mind. And unfortunately, through different things, whether it wasn't me performing or different things, that move never really worked out for the good over the 2 years that I was there. We got relegated the first year, but I played the majority of the games from Christmas onwards and the following season in the first division. Listen, some things in football are for you and work out for you, and some don't. And that was maybe the wrong move for me at that time. But you don't look back with any regrets, that's for sure.
Yeah, I was just about to say to you, there's a few clubs that I just wanted to get your thoughts on. I can remember actually watching you winning the championship with Dundee. I mean, that must have been a good day for you and a nice medal to get.
Yeah, no, that dressing room was unbelievable. We're still all in a WhatsApp group as it stands just now. That's how tight knit that squad was. And for me, you look at the Premier League. There's only ever going to be two teams that are going to win that. The Championship's obviously the next best league to win, and it's probably the hardest one to win. Given the overall standards, it is quite tight between most of the teams, but that was a fantastic year. I had 3 great years at Dundee. I thoroughly enjoyed playing for the club. I didn't realise how big it was before I went up there and signed for them. And I look back on the 3 years as some of the best that I've had in football.
And there were some good players in that team.
Yeah, right through the squad. Even you look, how some have went on and done well in their career. Martin Boyle was in the team. He's obviously an Australian international and doing well for Hibs. Big Dick Gallagher just helped Scotland get to the European Championships. And add to that the experienced ones as well. There was Pizzo and Gavin Ray and players like that about the place that kind of helped the younger ones. It was I can't speak highly enough of every single one of them that was in that squad, and it was such a tight knit squad, and it showed at the end of the season when we managed to go on and be successful.
Yeah, and Morton played a part in that as well because there was a few nerves that day when you eventually got over the line. Were you panicking?
That was bizarre. But obviously, we were cruising at half time, 2-0 up, and I think there had to be an eight goal swing. I think was right.
Yeah.
If we drew, there was an 8 goal swing. Then the title went to Aki's. And I'm pretty sure that it was about 15 minutes to go in the game, and I'm not sure if it was Craig Beattie. One of our subs came on and said, "Here, by the way, Hamilton are winning 8-2 against Morton." And you can imagine the response he got to that. Aye, very good. Like you're at it sort of thing. But thankfully, we seen the game out just because our goalie makes an unbelievable save in the last minute to keep it 2-1. But when we get back into the dressing room and heard it was 10-2, we couldn't quite believe what had happened. But thankfully, we had taken care of our job.
Anybody who's listening to this interview and hear you saying, yeah, thankfully it was 10-2, but we won, would not believe what you were talking about if they were from out with Scotland. But it was great to see you get the medal. Has there been a few characters down the years, Jim, that you've thoroughly enjoyed playing with, that you thoroughly enjoy being in a dressing room with?
Yeah, certainly. You think back over the years, I was a young boy at the time when Andy McLaren came into the Morton dressing room, and everyone knows Andy has been a character his whole career. He came to us at the tail end of his career. He was playing on one wing and I was playing on the other, so he was a massive help for me. But you didn't know what you were getting for Andy on a daily basis. Andy was mad, but he got the best out of everyone, which was fantastic. And you had folk like Gary Harkins and that in the dressing room up at Dundee, who's renowned for being a character over the years. I actually said to him the other day, I think that he's part of the reason why I'm retiring at this age, because I was fed up doing his running for a few years at Dundee, and that's eventually I think what's finished me off. But he was a great character as well.
I'm glad you've now mentioned two guys who actually I end up playing five-a-sides with. And they've been absolute, I mean, Gary, God, his skill was unbelievable, but I can understand why you would have really taken to Andy McLaren. His skill as a young boy as well, he was just fantastic and great for you, to see at close hand some of the things that you can pick up yourself.
No, absolutely. It was. It was just wee pointers he would give you in training, do this and that situation and different things. And obviously, I'd watched him for the stands and watched him on the telly over the years before he came. And him being a winger as well when I was trying to do the same job was a massive help. The length of time he was at the club, we had other senior players, Warren Hawke, Derek Lilly, and Alan Mahood were around that dressing room at the time as well. So when you're a young kid, you look up to folk like that, and you try and take we kind of snippets for each and every one of them to try and make you a better person and a better player. And I feel that all the ones that I've mentioned were a massive help in my career.
Yeah. Did you enjoy Blackpool?
Loved it. Yeah, absolutely. I loved it. I just loved the kind of set up English football. You just play teams twice over the season. For a lot of the season, you're playing Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday, Tuesday. So it's just games all the time. The club itself was in a bit of turmoil when I was down the road. There was a lot of nonsense going on behind the scenes, but it's a massive football club, and yet again, similar to Dundee, you probably didn't realise it until you were down and involved in it. But uh, I played for I had a 3-year contract. I played for 18 months. I had a bad leg break when I was down there, but even when I was out injured, I still thoroughly enjoyed my time down there.
Yeah, you've played for a few managers. Who was your favourite? Without offending too many people, who was your favourite and why?
Oh, he put me on the spot here. I've been fortunate enough throughout my whole career. I've never really had any issues with any managers. I've played under them all, but purely probably down to the circumstances. When I got my leg break when I was down in Blackpool, and Gary Bowyer was the manager at the time, and that was the only injury I've ever had, and when you've got this year ahead of you, when you're thinking, oh, I'm going to be a million miles away from the squad and different things, he put his arm around me straight away. He had me working with the analyst. He had me doing match reports and different things like that. And I think it was the second game after I'd broke my leg. I think we were playing, might have been Barnet at home or something like that. And I had done a match report for him. I had sat and watched the footage and stuff. And I reported early for the game to come in and go into the gym and do a bit of work with the strength and conditioning coach. And I was in the gym 10 minutes, and phone goes, and it was Gary. He says, "You've got 10 minutes to come back round. I'm happy with your match report, and you can deliver the team talk for the boys." So that straight away made you still feel, although you weren't out there on the field playing, it made you still feel part of the dressing room. The players respected the information that they were given, you were given to them in the build up to the game. So I'd probably purely say for that's just one example. There was loads, but purely for the way that he kind of kept me involved when easily I could have been pushed a million miles away for the playing squad.
Just a couple of points before you go, Jim. You've played all those years. There's been some players, great players that you played with, great that you played against. Who's the best player you've played against?
Virgil van Dijk, I would say. Anytime we played against Celtic when I was at Dundee, came up against him a few times, and you just felt as if he was playing the game in first gear up here. And I think you look what he's done since he's went down the road to England, win the Champions League, win the Premier League with Liverpool. I think tells you all you need to know about him.
Yeah, top drawer, absolutely. Is there any player that you absolutely enjoyed playing with that you thought, you've mentioned Andy McLaren, but is there one that you just thought he is destined for great things? He's just been a joy.
Obviously, like I've spoke about, you've had the likes of folk like Gary Harkins and that you've played with, proper footballers and match winners on their day, and then you add to that experienced boys like I played with Kevin Thompson my last year at Dundee, whose career speaks for himself as well, and was a top player. I'd probably say I would have to put Kevin Thompson probably up there. Kevin Thompson, Andy McLaren, players like that are certainly up there with the best I've played with.
Yeah, 2 points then to finish it all off. Any regrets? Anything that sticks in your mind?
No, I don't. It's hard to say never look back and have any regret. Probably passing up the opportunity to sign for the remaining team when I was at Morton. They were obviously in the Champions League at the time, and then went on to beat Rangers at Ibrox 4-1. So that's always an opportunity that's at the back of my mind that I probably passed up at the time that I wished I had maybe given a go.
Yeah, is that Unarea with Dan Petrescu? What was it? If Dan Petrescu asked me to come out onto the grass to play five-a-sides, I would have been out there with him. What was it that you decided I'm not going to go and play in Romania in Champions League football as well?
Probably, I'd be honest, bad advice. I would say at the time, just the advice I was given. They didn't think, okay, well, looking after me at the time, didn't think it'd be good for my career, which is
Wow.
mad. Which is mad thinking back on it. They ended up arranging for me to go down to Watford and train down there, which was a bit of a waste of time. They thought that would have been a better option going forward. But like I said, there's no point in looking back and thinking what could have been.
Yeah, and let's finish on a high then. What's the one? Is it a game? Is it a memory? What's the ultimate high? What's the thing that will stick in your mind through all those years? Is there one particular moment that you'll never forget you enjoyed so much?
Probably two. I would say that the final whistle when we won the second division with Morton through at Kirkcaldy, and the final whistle when you were talking about the Dundee, the championship win, the pitch invasion at Dens that day when the full time whistle went against Dumbarton was pretty special. So they're probably the two moments that I won't forget going forward.
Yeah, and are you a nostalgic person? Do you keep a hold of? I see a few shirts behind you. Do you keep a hold of the medals, the shirts, and get them framed in the rooms? Tell me yes, Jim, please.
Oh yeah, I'm mad for stuff like that. I'm getting growlers off my wife just now when you mentioned that. She's standing outside the laptop. She's no happy the amount of shirts I've got lying about. But no, I'm massive on that. The ones behind it, the Blackpool ones for although I never played in the playoff final, I still got a shirt made up and different things. So my medals in that frame, and obviously the Dundee one over my other shoulders. There's photos from that day against Dumbarton in that frame as well. So very nostalgic, and I love looking back on stuff in my career.
Yeah, if I can give you one bit of advice, Jim, get as many of those shirts framed as you can, even although it will annoy your wife. And then, if you haven't got enough space, build more walls to put them on. It's the best way forward.
That's the plan. Don't you worry about that. I've already planted the seed for that going forward. So I have.
Brilliant. Okay, just before I say farewell, how would you like to be remembered?
Probably a good teammate. I'd like to think I've been a good teammate to everyone that I've played with over the years, and someone who they can rely on and trust. Get out onto the field of play on a Saturday, probably.
Jim, it's been a joy watching you. It's been great talking to you and looking back over the career. And whatever you decide to do, I wish you 100% success, Mucker. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks very much, Peter. Pleasure.